Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this free recap video I want to cover kind of a concept that's pretty simple to understand, but one that doesn't get talked about much in mainstream media, and that's just idea of gauging a market in terms of a rate of change. In other words, whether or not a market is up 3 points, 30 points, 300 points in any given day should really only be considered with what it did the previous day. So for example, there's going to be a lot of chatter about the market being up today, but it really only from a rate of change standpoint matters from where it closed the previous day. The fact that we're up from the low of 2560 on the S&P is less important, although if you're a day trader, it's a different gauge. But for most traders trying to understand the overall direction of the market, today exceeded yesterday's close, and that's where we start to really gauge whether or not we're truly making progress higher or lower. So again, think about that in terms of, before you get caught up with what financial media, sort of the news-driven, headline-chasing financial media will tell you about what the markets are doing, and obviously they cheerlead the market a lot because most people are bullish. That makes perfect sense. But think about it from that standpoint. Where do we close the previous day? Where are we in relation to that? Not how far off the lows are we. Now, here's where the lows are important. Where was support established? In other words, where were buyers compelled to step in, and where did the low then become the foundation for the move higher? Because that could be, going forward, support from a technical analysis standpoint to keep an eye on. So for example, when the markets were rallying this morning and we were in the chat room, I said, the movement that we get through the previous session's high, there could be a certain catapulting effect that we'll get when intraday we take out the 25.96 and 3/4 level. Right, so we basically take out 25.96. That could be an interesting level to move higher. Not 25.96. Sorry, that would have been, what am I looking? I'm looking for the close here. Sorry, 25.82.5. Right, when we take out 25.82.5, what then happens? That's progress. The movement we've seen from 25.82.5 up to 25.90, that's progress. Everything else is just retracing steps. It's just taking a path we've already taken to the upside. So let me bring y'all to another setup here, or another idea, which is, what do you do with price action intraday when we really aren't going anywhere? We might be making slight higher highs or slight lower lows, but from this day-to-day basis, end of day candles, daily charts, where are we going? We're probably kind of gathered up right now. What do we do in that environment? What we do is we look at the open. In fact, this is something we talked about this morning, and you'll see the marks that I've left on this chart. CRH stands for clearing range high, CR low stands for clearing range low. And this is a way to gauge momentum and therefore sentiment on at least the early part of the day, and maybe for the day in general, right? So early part of the day for me means from the open to about 11:30. So if we take out a clearing range high by 10:30, that's an important point. We look at the first 30 minutes of the day, what are the high and low that's established by then, and then one of the gauges, and it's actually a trade too with a few other criteria, but one of the other gauges is, can the breakout through the clearing range high be traded to the long side? And if not, can it at least be an indication of a certain amount of bullish sentiment? And that is true. So again, I want it to happen before 10:30. And we can see where it happened right in there, right? Now, had we broken down through the clearing range low, that would be bearish sentiment. That would be a short, okay? And then that would also indicate a certain, at least a certain degree of sentiment, at least for the early part of the day. And then after that, we can look at the trend that may organize after. Okay, so think about what the first 30 minutes of the day tell you. And again, this to me is another way of gauging, sort of another way of looking at rate of change. How we cross a certain barrier, and then now are we continuing to build on that. But the best way to look at the market day to day, gang, is not with the roller coaster of how many points are we up or down on the day, but in relation to the previous session. And it'll keep you from getting all swept up in the sort of euphoria or even the the pessimistic view of whether or not we're down today. Where are we down to? Have we broken any key thresholds, right? Notice that threshold concept is very much part of that clearing range, breakout, breakdown. So keep those concepts in mind, and I'll see you in the next video.